tiny feet accommodated by sectors within the four colorless walls of the room. As always, they did what they were told. At 10 years of age, they were trained to believe that there was no other option. The 15 children formed 3 single files of 5. The light above the metal door turned green, and 3 ladies in gray entered the room, perfectly synchronized. There is a certain feeling kids experience when being faced with the prospect of a profession. Excitement, eagerness, enthusiasm. At the institution, none of these emotions were ever felt. In fact, the most prominent sentiment experienced by the children was fear. Lex was an exception. She was one of the few kids that had experienced unconditional love, care, and concern. She had Lucy. She knew what friendship was. The children received their envelopes in an organized and coordinated motion, as all actions were performed at the institution. Worry, anguish, and anxiety were felt across the room as the kids opened the cards with their assigned professions. Lex's envelope contained a blue slip of paper with printed letters. Technology Department. She tilted the paper so Lucy could read it. Then Lucy did the same thing. Her slip of paper was white, and the printed letters said, Donations. Lex was not aware of said department, and by Lucy's micro-expressions, she did not either. The light turned green again. In choir, the woman said, Follow. And the children did so. On the other side of the room, the women in grey dresses took their place. People in pale and uninviting colors awaited. Grey, brown, blue, orange, green, and white. Each stood in front of a similar colored door, 2 for each department, 1 to lead, 1 to guard the lines from behind. Lex knew now that the blue door stood for technology. She added herself to the single file. She also knew that the grey door was nursing, as that is what the caretakers wore. The trays she ate from were a similar green as the uniforms. She assumed they were related. She did not know what the others stood for, and she did not care. She, however, was increasingly anxious to know the implications related to the white door. The distribution resulted in 6 children being in Lex's department. 2 girls were in the nursing department. 2 boys were in the food-related department. 2 boys and 1 girl were in the brown department. 2 boys were in the orange department, and only 1 girl in the white department. Lucy was as pale as the white uniform of the woman in front of her. The lights flashed green, and all the doors opened. Everyone followed the leaders of their assigned color. Lex stared at Lucy. Terrified and alone, she offered Lex a smile. Showing emotion was against the rules. Lex knew Lucy would later be punished for that. Still, she could not help it. She smiled back. That was the last time they saw each other. As time passed, the institution transformed a sweet child who once broke the rules to smile back at her friend into a killing machine. The Department of Technology was more extensive than it seemed. Once Lex crossed the blue door, she was introduced to a world of computers, gadgets, and weapons. She soon learned that she had been assigned a role, and there was no getting out of it. She learned everything from coding to hacking to designing and firing an automatic machine gun. She proved worthy of her position, ever so that when an acid bullet damaged one of her lungs during a test run, instead of disposing of her, she was given the task to heal. And so she did. And when she came back, she had new instructions to start a dual training between her department and the orange one, the security department. This was not unusual, she had learned, to dual train. The job and tasks that each had been assigned required multiple skills. No one knew what the final task was, but they all trained for it. There was no other option. Lex was now cold, calculated, and violent. She had sudden bursts of rage which, although useful during combat training, would inevitably get her in trouble. She feared that one day such an episode might cause her elimination. At the institution, accidents were forbidden. She knew they were watching her. She did not know who they were, but she knew there were cameras everywhere, and they had forbidden her being without supervision. Paranoid or not, she still held on to some hope that she might find her only friend. In her mind, Lucy was still a pale child who risked getting injected painful substances only to squeeze Lex's hand or give her a smile. She wished to never talk to Lucy again. Lex knew that who she was now would scare that little girl, but she wished to see her, to know what became of her. The institution had molded Lex into something dangerous. So dangerous, in fact, that she was never left alone, even though she had passed all the tests with superior scores. They were always watching her, shadowing her. They were cautious about her. But she was smarter than that. She knew how to pick her battles. She was calculated. So it came as no surprise to her when his companion at the technology laboratory had a sudden outburst of intestinal sickness. She was left alone, 2 minutes at most, but 2 minutes was all she needed. She entered the system. She hacked easily and swiftly. Official files with classified names and redacted content popped up on the screen, but she did not care. She knew what she was looking for. Lex and Lucy had been submitted to the institution the same day. She searched for her own name. Subject 2842. Alexandra S. Technology Institution. And 2 names beneath that she found it. Subject 2845. Lucille H. Donations. Deceased. Lex had no time to grieve. She wanted answers. She knew they were watching, and they had already sent someone to stop her. She searched for more. All she found were medical files and surgery receipts. She clicked on the last one. The note read, "Successful surgery. Donor Lucille H. Number 2845. Deceased. Organs left to be harvested. Recipient Alexandra S. Number 2842. In recovery to begin physical therapy." Lex felt rage, and she knew she could not wait until the next training session. 5 officers of protection entered the room, and then 10 more entered. Only 3 walked out. They were drugging Lex. She was sedated. She knew not where they were taking her, but she knew Lucy was within her. She inhaled with a borrowed lung, and she made a silent promise. She would not let that part of her die.